on there, everybody? Hope you're having a good one. And it is going to be the Tekken patch, and it just went live. So let's take a look here at what we are seeing in this patch, and we're going to go and take our time going through it there. The first patch, which was the Season 2 patch, had been released at the end of March time, along with Anna, and she is the brand new Season 2 character, and they had also revealed that a Pac-Man stage was going to be coming through with some other special secret characters and another stage along the way. There were changes to sidestepping, wall splat, pressure system, heat system, and balancing, general balancing of characters, and a lot of buffs, generally speaking. What we are going to do is we're going to take a look at the emergency patch to address some of the issues that came through with that patch at the end of March time, and see how things are adjusted and changed along the way. So we're going to head over to offline here and practice. And just for now, okay, we're going to head on over to the training stage, and we're going to have a mirror match on the screen as we're going through the general patch notes. So let's take a look here. What's going on there? Let's take a look here and see what is going on. Of course, I got my t-shirt. I thought I pulled the camera up. Ah, now it's too high. Yeah. There it is. It's a good ass Tekken t-shirt there. Okay, so here we go. And these notes were just released, and of course these are adjustments to everything, right? But the key is that they are seen as priority adjustments because the Tekken World Tour is coming up. They want to make sure that it's equal footing for everybody competing at all the different Tekken World Tours for this season. So that's why they're rolling out this first patch to address some of the bigger things. Then as we're moving along, things are going to be tweaked and adjusted along the way. So here we go, and we are going to be taking a look at this patch here. So the first thing that it's going to say is regarding the last patch, which was version 2, the overall game balance has shifted too heavily towards offense. So traditionally, Tekken is more of a defensive game. And with it being 3D, it even leaned more into that when you capitalize on your 3D movement with sidestepping, side walking, backdashing, Korean backdashing, wave dashing. There's multiple different ways that you can move and utilize defensive play in Tekken. Now, granted, there are some characters that are more offensively based characters. It's always been that way. There's been some characters that have capitalized more on defensive play. Generally, Kazuya. That's one of the reasons why also I picked him up first just because I thought he was cool. But then at the same time, the more I started to play him, read about him, learn about him and everything, he was a little bit more of a defensively based character, punishes errors, and then puts you in a massive Oki situation. But long story short, defensive play, more traditional hand-in-hand with Tekken. Now the funny thing is this. As Tekken has progressed, and a lot of other fighting games, the issue was that you had some of these characters that were more offensively based, which is fine. But what they found is with those characters versus against each other, when an audience was watching, was finding it a little bit more captivating than two more defensively based characters that were playing a little too turtly, okay? Now for us, it's really intriguing, right? We're really captivated by it because we know what's going on behind it. People are afraid to hit a button. They're afraid they're going to get hit on startup. They're afraid they're going to get hit on cooldown. You know, they don't want to do something that's too incredibly risky. It's a 50-50 situation. We understand that because we're more ingrained into what's going on, right? But the casual audience and people that may not be the casual audience, they could be someone completely new that's just happens to see this on TV, or somebody that's just starting to get into this. They may see something like that and think, this is kind of not my thing. I'm not interested in watching it. There was a drive towards more active and engaging and electric play, right? So adjustments started to be made along the way. And as the game started to progress, every game that comes out has to have something different in it. Somewhere I had read, and this wasn't about gaming, this was just about anything in general, for a product to be made and to be sold as a different version of whatever the previous product is, I believe to keep their trademark or whatever their license is, they have to prove that that product is a different version of what the previous one is. They also have to prove that with these changes that basically it's their right in not deceiving the consumer, that this is a different product. It may not be, let me put it to you this way, it may not be a better updated version, you know, or even a worse updated version, but it has to be a different version than what was sold previously. And I think this is just a U.S. government law, or I don't know, but for them to verify that this is a different game. Tekken in space. You know, this is a different game compared to whatever, you know, the previous version was. So every time they try to come out with something new, you know, also something to captivate the audience, you know, want to buy it again and bring in new people along. As things started to progress and Tag 2 came, well, I came in through Tag 2. Different version of the game built on Tekken 6. Tekken 7 capitalized on the rage system, the rage art and the critical art, and rage drive and rage art. And in that, it was its own set of properties, but it was new for that game and new for the franchise in general, because Tekken didn't have supers, right? They had something in there that they thought was going to bring in a new audience. Then Tekken 8 came out, and basically it brought in the heat system, right? And it brought in, oh, not brought in, I'm sorry, the rage is still there. So we still have rage arts, right? But the heat system is the new component for Tekken 8. It bumps up the offensive pressure of all of the characters in the game universally, and is the different component from the previous games. Trying to use some of these mechanics in some ways is trying to be more easily accepted by newer players or by players that may have a difficult time with execution, okay? So some of these mechanics are trying to make things easier for people to do. As the game started to progress, from what I've noticed, and I'm not going to get too much into specifics on any of this. This is just a little bit of a history of what's going on. All of the characters got boosted in a more offensive way, which was already a little bit of a different advancement, even compared to Tekken 7, because Tekken 7 was also boosted up. The engine was boosted up in offense. Tekken 8 comes out, and it's boosted up even a little bit more. As time goes on, some of the characters that were considered strong characters, even in the past, when I started playing Tag 2, Dragunov was considered a good character. I even looked at Dragunov. Elisa is a good character. I looked at her too. Legitimately. And actually, that was the third cosplay I ever made, was an Elisa cosplay. Some of the characters, according to the engine of the game in general, and their special moves, and their core of what they are, can access what they need to get a win a little easier than some other characters. And that's just the way that it is. That's just how those characters are initially made, right? There's some characters in other games that are also the same way. I'm not going to say what games they are, but I'm really happy to see that some people are posting on social media, hey, these certain characters can play the engine of the game better than others. And they literally are like the perfect puzzle piece that you need to access everything that you need to be able to play a strong game, right? Those characters in this game, some of them are doing very well in tournaments. And, which is good. I mean, it is what it is. And also in previous games. Before the Tekken World Tour Finals, an adjustment patch went out to sort of balance these characters a little bit more, to help some of the other characters that could be picked in the finals competition have a little bit more of a quality of life chance, right? In the end, the adjustments weren't wildly unfair. They were fair, okay, and they were okay. And a lot of the players that had played these characters still felt that those characters were extremely manageable and could do what they needed them to do in high competition. So then, time passes. And Anna comes out in Season 2. What I feel happened in Season 2 was you had these characters that were really good, and they were ironed out a little bit for the rest of the cast for the Tekken World Tour Finals, but they were still good. I think what they did was they raised the rest of the characters up to match the good characters in how having all these other characters have the same strong properties. And some of them, some of the properties were a little much, right? So along with some other things, there were some concerns going around. The new competitive season has not started yet, but it will start up in May. So as different things that, you know, really needed adjusted were brought to light, like glitch kind of things, there were people that had concerns about different balances. And it was all reviewed, and now we have the patch in response to how they want to proceed for the start of the Tekken World Tour. And that is where we are right now, in a nutshell, okay? And that's a very small general synopsis of what's happened. But this is where we are right now. Other patches, according to player feedback analytics, is going to also come through in the future, right? So this is where we are. And it just went through and it just went live right now. So the first thing that they did for everybody, and this is universal changes, they basically increased the health values of everyone. So if a character has a very high momentum based game and it is the pressure is all on their side, instead of them getting all the damage that they were previously, they're not getting that value of damage anymore. It's less now, is what they're trying to say with that. So they're saying one-sided momentum, they get all that damage, now they're not getting as much of that damage anymore. So that's the first change. The second change is overly high reward moves. So we could say there was a concern about Jax. Let's hear some noise. And the amount of setup and damage and block stun and everything else that it could do, that it's going to be adjusted. That's just an example, but things like that are going to be tweaked. So it says addressing inflation of attack strength and combo damage by implementing adjustments. A more fair risk-reward balance. Rebalanced offensive and defensive aspects of the heat system. It says benefits gained by attacking a player through the heat system is considered too great. The adjustments are scaling the damage basically during the heat dash. Adjusting frame advantage on hit for an engager. The attacker, the person that is accessed the heat engager, still has all their opportunities to use it and keep the pressure, but the person defending now has more control over defensive options. Chip damage. Reducing chip damage during heat. Change the system where moves that already dealt chip damage don't do any extra in the heat state. And as they collect more information, then additional adjustments will be made for that. Another patch is going to come through in mid-May. And it will take a look at moves that consistently cause one-sided games. Attacks with a disproportionately high reward system on their side. And, you know, they're looking forward to player feedback as long as it's, you know, constructive, and they will continue to make note of it, and they will take it all down and look at it all at the same time along with their information and see what works best in a unified way so that the game flows. So we're going to look at health gauge. It says here maximum health has been increased from 180 to 200. The threshold for activating rage has been raised. So it used to be based on 23.5%. It is now 43 to 47. It says rage may now last slightly longer than before. It says this is all under review and may be adjusted in future. The changes in the health gauge are not going to be affected in the story mode, the episode mode, or Tekken Ball. Throws. Okay. Throws are the basic idea was throws are less effective against opponents who can react in tech when you see the throw animation. Throw breaking is considered a high-level technique, and it is deemed to impose a penalty on the defender It was deemed excessive to impose a penalty on a defender for successfully breaking the throw. As previously announced, the following change has been implemented. The mechanic where the defender receives 5 recoverable damage upon a successful throw break has been removed. Okay. Wow, I was like, man, I had to move up there for a second. Yeah, okay, so the gray health for 5 damage when you do a throw break, basically. and you could heal it back. But at the same time, if you get hit, it's that hit plus 5, percent. So that's gone now. That's not a thing anymore. Heat engager. When you do your heat engager and your character is in the running motion, the opponent's recovery time is reduced by 8 frames. So the frame advantage was 17 frames and now it's 9. So that is a nerf to heat engagers. So that's why people were saying, oh man, it's too aggressive and the damage is too high and everything else. Okay, heat engagers just got popped. So we went from 17 frames, it's a big safety net, down to 9 frames. So that was good. Heat dash. Okay, so if you get a post-hit aerial juggle combo, the damage scaling from 70% to now 60%. The recoverable damage inflicted when performing a heat dash after forcing your opponent to block went from 7 now to 2. So when your opponent has gray life and they're blocking the heat dash and they used to get 7, now they get 2. So you're forcing your opponent to block the move, and the recoverable gray life on that went from 7 to 2. It says, because of the change in the aerial combo scaling, a discrepancy has been identified between some sample combos and actual combo damage. So they're going to investigate this and look at it in the next update, which is going to happen sometime in May. Chip damage. Reducing chip damage on block. Okay, to reduce additional chip damage during heat, chip damage scaling changed from 25 to 20. As a result, chip damage from blocking heat smash has been lowered overall. And then we know up above with the heat dash, it went from 7 to 2. So now it went from 25 to 20%. Moves that deal chip damage by default. Adjustments are made so that no additional chip damage is applied during heat for these moves. So basically what they're saying is that you can't stack the damage on top of each other. That's not a thing anymore. They said that some characters basically capitalize on stacking the damage, especially in heat system situations. Excessive variances in chip damage, balance adjustments have been made accordingly per character. It's not a blanketed thing. It's per each character. Key charge. Adjustments were made to reduce overwhelming impact of counter hit based offense. Because that's what your key charge does. It gets you the counter hit. However, it's determined that combining charged attacks with elements like rage or stage gimmicks can lead to excessive, potentially match-ending damage in a single hit. Yeah, because then they have so much momentum behind them. They just keep rolling. If they get you against the wall and the wall splat, they can get reset and you're done. So, as such, future rebalancing has been implemented. When a charge attack hits the opponent, the damage scaling on the first hits changed from 150 to 110. That's good. You know, and they're still going to be looking at all of these, so... Whoops. Moves that induce wall stagger. This is a big one. Minimizing situations that lead to one-sided exchanges. Triggering a wall stagger on block is a particular concern. Some of the moves can create extreme advantage. Plus 10 frames or more when you're near the wall, forcing the defended character, the defending player, the person that's blocking, into a powerful mix-up situation without any opportunity to respond. So imagine what's going on is you're in the wall, you're against the wall, and you're blocking, and then somebody does a move and it leads to a wall splat. So imagine in Street Fighter you're in the corner and someone has the ability to do all kinds of drive impacts, right? And you're blocking and you don't have the ability to do any parrying or anything like that. And you can't do a you can't jump over the normals because you can't jump high enough, right? And you're stuck in the corner, and they get a wall splat on you. You're blocking. That would lead to a complete confirm because you can't do anything. You got splat against the wall, and then you're done. So what they're saying is that they completely changed all of this, and to reduce the one-sided situation, they looked at this option across everybody. Any of those moves that created an advantage of 10 frames or more greater on block will no longer trigger the wall splat when they're blocked. Specific affected moves are listed in the character-by-character review. Throw breaks. Fix the issue where input combinations allow players to break the throws that should only be breakable with either one or two only, effectively enabling breaks for both types of throws. Okay, so those are the general notes for that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go and look at nope, that's fine. That's what I just looked at. I'm in here. the all the characters. And I read it on Twitter. Let's take a look here. No, it's the general notes too. Because the only adjustment Kazuya had was to the scaling. He had scaling on something. It was a universal. It was more a universal change than anything else. Oh, this won't go back. Anna had a few. Lars had a few. Here it is. See? Yeah, this is it. Okay. Yeah, this is it. Okay, so now Anna, she just came out in the end of March time. So it says here, she got some bug fixes, and she got some universal adjustment fixes there. Oops. I know. Okay.
Get ready for the next battle.
Alright, so. Hey there, what's up? How are you? Tattoo's very good. Whoops. There we go. Okay, so here we are. We're looking at Anna right now. Okay, so received bug fixes and universal adjustments. So specifically for heat moves involving 3 consecutive shots from Lovely Tom, her rocket launcher. The return was excessively high near the wall. Opponent's behavior on hit and block is now adjusted. They are going to be watching her and thinking about possibly reducing chip damage in future updates. And the weakened state has been reduced accordingly. If she is in heat and does a wall splat, it now will not trigger a wall splat for certain combos. And fixed an issue where the projectile would not fly straight towards the opponent, and it would hit the opponent's position to the side or behind by accident. So they adjusted that. When Anna is in Chaos Judgment stance, and then she activates heat, the opponent's behavior on final hit is no more wall splat. Projectile doesn't fly straight. Okay, same thing. Issues with the bazooka. Wow. Once again, another move for Anna. Forward, 2, 3, activates heat. 3, 2, no wall splat. Another move. Okay, so it's hard for me to read what, like, I would basically be reading what these combos are. There aren't any names for these. So basically, a lot of Anna's options where she has things that would cause a wall splat are now not viable. She'll get the damage, but she doesn't get the wall splat for a reset now on any of these. And if you're blocking, she's not going to get a wall stun either. So that's interesting. For one of her special moves, Fragile, reduced additional chip when blocking. And if you're in a weakened state. And they said no stacking of damage. So that's one of them right there. During Chaos Judgment stance, heat dashes can be performed after whiffing in specific situations. So they fixed that issue. While rising, 1+2. Fixed the bug where multi-hitting attacks with Power Crush would fail and be absorbed completely, resulting in the player getting hit. Okay, so that is a bug that they fixed with her. Okay, her slap reversal. The action that should have been exclusive to certain characters is now unintentionally performed by all characters. So that's a character-specific move. They fixed it so that now it is only certain characters. Pleasure time. The opponent's behavior on hit to make them stand up and face forward. It's being changed because of the long period of unrecoverable time allowed for unblockable situations with side steps and access shifting attacks. Adjusted the collusion on hit to reduce instances of characters swapping positions near the wall. Another move of hers does not induce the wall stagger when they're blocked. What's up there? I don't know if she got buried. The key is that they're still really watching her closely. Especially with, the bullets, how do the bullets fly, and what will she still be able to access? Because it sounds like they left things with her just to see how strong they're going to be as they go along, and if they aren't that much out of control, I think they're going to leave them. Brian. Follow-up adjustments to the new move, Neo Grim Reaper. High reward on hit. Very low risk when blocked. Extremely useful. It said notable reduction in gameplay variety and player individuality. That is professional lingo of Brian's are spamming this move. I really like it. I really like that. This led to a noticeable reduction in gameplay variety and player individuality. That's really well done. That's really good. Taking these points into account, we have decided to implement a preemptive adjustment to Brian's performance as a part of a broader balance direction planned for future updates. Okay, so basically what they're saying is they introduced Neo Grim Reaper as a special move for Brian to start off season 2. It's being used. It's good. People are using it. It's basically what it's boiling down to. And they're going, you know what? Okay, is this going to be adjusted better for other moves to have more of a chance and more variety to be used, right? I remember in Street Fighter V when people were using certain V skills, and what the balance team in Street Fighter V ended up doing was a patch went through so that the opposite V skill was buffed, so that it could still give players an option of using V skill 1 or V skill 2. Some people ended up using the same ones, but other people didn't. They switched to the other one, or they may have liked how it worked better. So they were taking a good look at Neo Grim Reaper, basically, right? Okay, so recovery time while blocking for Snake Eyes went from the recovery time is now basically better. Advantage on block is not as good for Brian. And consumption of the heat to access this move went from 210 to 300. So here's an example, right? People would always say to me, well, why when you're playing Kazuya, don't you do his when he's in heat in the devil form, the devil hell sweep, and he does the hell sweep, and you automatically get the command grab with it, and he goes and throws them up, and he smashes them down to the ground, and you get decent damage from that. You get very good damage. But the problem is that it takes a big chunk of your heat bar. It takes a big chunk of your heat bar. And if you do Roar the Devil, his explosion, that takes a huge chunk of your heat bar. So things like that really add up, especially when the heat bar is melting very quickly. So what they're saying here is that this is a really good move Brian has while, you know, he is activated, and he was only getting 210 for the frames that was being utilized. I'm sorry, the damage on it that was being eaten away in the heat system. Now it's been upped to 300. So now people have to be more cautious because it went up 90. And also counter hit no longer triggers a wall splat. So that's good. Okay. Wall stagger no longer triggered on block for an option during Snake Eyes. So that was a big thing that remember that they said. Wall staggers, if you're blocking and you're doing the right thing, you're blocking and you get hit, they're just saying, hey, that's it. You know, you get hit. That, you know, more of the time now. It's not going to cause a wall splat. There's still going to be some things that are going to cause a wall splat, but they're lessening that. Okay, a change for Claudio here. During Starburst, wall stagger is no longer triggered on block. Same thing for Starburst. That's good, but that's the only change there for Claudio. And that's, you know what? And that's the same. It's the same change Kazuya had too. It was a wall splat change. Clive balance direction. Rebalancing.
Sonic
Staff of
Boom.
Judgment. Staff of Judgment had a long reach, maintaining offensive pressure even when blocked, yielding high reward on counter hits. As a result, it diminished the utility of other moves, because when something's really good, you know, there's always the saying, if something's really good and you're getting mileage out of it, you know, don't necessarily stop, but you're certainly going to keep mixing it in a lot, right? So now this is being adjusted. So Staff of Judgment. There's a look, it's none of my business, but there's a spelling error under balance direction for Clive. I don't know if somebody would want to change that, but so the first sentence is in version 2.00.2, Clive received behavior fix along with a rebalancing of the new season 2 move Staff of Judgment. It's the next paragraph. I don't know if someone would want to change that. But anyways, so it says feel free to use some of his other moves because that move is going to be adjusted. And a preliminary adjustment to Clive's performance in line to possibly broader balancing for future updates. So some of this stuff is also tester changes, and they're looking to see how characters are going to be doing firsthand, player-wise, player feedback-wise, and analytics, right? Reduced damage on counter hit from 60 to 50 for forward 1+2. Opponent's recovery time when blocking reduced by 1 frame. So you recover a little faster. So it went from 4 to 3. Chip damage on block went from 6 to 2. That's nice. Okay, during heat, 2+3. Wall stagger, no longer triggered on block. 1. Okay, this is interesting. So if you press 1 when you're inputting forward while running, would prevent follow-up moves from being executed. So that's a little bit of a like a little goofy kind of thing. So they adjusted that. Devil Jin. Overall universal changes. Wall stagger is no longer triggered on block. That's all he got. That's good. That's good. Good for Devil Jin there. Eddie got some. Oh man, Eddie got some adjustments here. Okay, so wall stagger, same thing. No longer triggered on block. Up forward 3+4. When the first attack hits a downed person, fixes the issue where unintended combos are possible against certain characters when hitting a downed opponent. So probably what the issue is a hurt box issue. So what they're trying to say is if the opponent's down on the ground, this particular move, if you do it, I don't think is supposed to hit them, but if it does, it's because their hurt boxes are probably larger. So maybe Jack, the Bears. So they're saying that this has been adjusted now. So it's probably universal. It's probably the same for everybody. Start of the round. Issue where unintended behavior could occur at the start of the round. Okay, so I did hear about this. They said something that Eddie, I don't remember the specifics, but it could have been when the round starts and I think Anna's on the screen. Eddie moves to the side automatically. So it was something like that. It was an unintended issue, but it was an automatic, just just the character did it. I read that somewhere on Twitter, but I could be wrong, but it's fixed. It's fixed now. Okay, down 3. Opponent's behavior on hit, make them stand up facing forward. Change is made because of the long period of unrecoverable time allowed for unblockable situations with sidesteps and access shifting attacks. Adjusted the collusion on hit to reduce instances of characters switching positions near the wall. Well, that's all from hitting down 3. A wall stagger change triggered on block. A wall stagger change triggered on block. Oh wait, I'm sorry. No, that's for Fang. Fang, wall stagger no longer triggered on block. Same thing for Heihachi. Horong. Same thing as Eddie, except it's down 1+2. So basically, when the opponent is on hit, to make them stand up and face forward. It's in an unblockable situation with sidesteps and access shifting attacks. And an issue with swapping positions near the wall. Jack. Oh my goodness. Behavior fixes as well as rebalancing for make some noise. Make some noise as a follow-up to a close range move. Highly advantageous. Sorry about that, excuse me. Extremely strong offensive pressure with minimal risk. And the chip damage was, the gray life was very significant. He could be going at it. Bam. Bam. And then you're going, oh my god. And, it's adjusted, so that's good. That's very, very good. Needed for rebalancing. Taking factors into account, a preemptive adjustment has been implemented to scale back the performance of the move. With a broader balance policy planned in the future. So, they have things on the table for him in addition to this. But they're waiting to see how he's going to do first. Jack. Damage during Gamma Hall changed from 30 to 20. Chip damage on block changed from 12 to 4. Okay, so nerfs here. Recovery time when you're blocking has been reduced 3 frames from 8 frames down to 5. The attack hitbox is reduced to mitigate the unintended occurrence of hitting opponents who are behind you. And a quality of life change where executing a combo, the timing from when you access the combo, the button activation is earlier than intended. In practice mode, where the CPU would not perform certain ukemi after a down hit when set. corrected the bug where the combo counter incorrectly displayed a continued combo when following up a knockdown with an attack during a timing that could be avoided with a ukemi and should not have resulted in a true combo. Okay, so that's quality of life update there in the practice mode. And they're trying to just basically correct what his options are after down hits and the combo counter, incorrectly counting the combo when it should be a reset. Yeah, it should not have resulted in a true combo. Jin. Rebalancing of stances. Basically, access to excessive combo damage. One-sided pressure. Getting an idea of a direction and then possibly additional things in the future. So, some of his moves, when he has frame advantage on block, instead of being an advantage by 12, he is now an advantage of 6. Damage to moves during Zazen reduced from 25 to 20. Behavior on down hit has been reverted to the pre 2.0, the pre-update state. Wall stagger no longer triggered on block. Expanded the hurt box of leaving situations where certain attacks would whiff on down forward 2-4. Wow. Jun got a lot of things. Ooh. Wow. Okay, so basically, one of her stances was being underutilized in Season 1. So they made it better to hope that people would utilize it more, but it was too good. So that's been adjusted. Some of the moves were very difficult to block on reaction and difficult to evade, even with a sidestep. And it was very strong. Moderate tracking against sidesteps, and can consistently beat defensive choices with minimal risk. Highly powerful new move that was added to Season 2. And allowed very little response back for counterplay. Repeatedly pressure your opponents. Yeah, some of these adjustments, I definitely, especially Jun, man, she was really something. But I'm happy to see this. They want to keep the offensive strengths, but at the same time make it manageable for opponents to be able to have their turn, basically. And promoting more balanced mind games. I completely agree with that. I think it's really good. Reducing the recovery time by 2 frames. So on block it's 6 frames to 4, and it's a combo. In her Izumo stance, the downward hit box of the first attack is reduced, so now you can sidestep her. Another option in Izumo, easier to sidestep. A startup is changed from 20 frames to just specifically 19. And when she uses the move from a 4-frame situation, the opponent can more easily evade it by sidestepping to the right. During Miar, recovery time inflicted on opponent has been reduced by 2 frames. Advantage on block is now changed from 6 down to 4. Counter hit is aligned with that of just a normal hit. During Izumo 4, expanded the hurt box, alleviating situations where certain attacks would whiff. Kazuya, same thing. Wall stagger no longer triggered on blocks, so he's the same. King got adjustments. So we've got rebalanced the special move Stampede Crush. High versatility. Offensive pressure, especially when he transitioned into Jaguar Sprint. Very dominant. A preemptive balance adjustment, and possibly more updates in the future. So, in one of his combos with this, the second hit no longer connects a natural combo after the first hit lands. The hitbox of the third hit is reduced, making it harder to connect against opponents in a down state. You want to know, and that's the funny thing too, that's one of the reasons why I don't get up right away in Tekken. Sometimes, and if I'm hit, I'll stay on the ground. Sometimes I'll leap off. Sometimes, I'll get up and do a hit. Sometimes I'll try to roll from side to side. But I usually try to wait a tiny little bit to try to see what somebody's, going to do. Because a lot of times if you just get up right away, you just get blasted, So you just take your time. 3-2-2. Reduce the tracking of the third hit. Reduce the hitbox of the third hit, making it harder to connect against opponents in the down state. Jaguar Sprint 3. Overall adjustment, wall stagger no longer triggered. Issue where recoverable gauge will not regenerate after transitioning to Jaguar Sprint with 3+4 following the heat activation animation. Too much forgiveness there. Fix an issue where transitioning to Jaguar step with back 3-4 would incorrectly trigger the move with the wrong command. Okay, so that's just a like a glitchy kind of thing. Puma and Panda. Wall stagger no longer triggered on block for some moves. So during hunting, fix the issue where the opponent's behavior upon activating Heat Dash during an airborne hit did not match the intended behavior. Down, quarter circle forward, 2-1. Fix an issue where the Heat Dash could be activated on whiff under certain conditions. During heat, 2-3. Fix the bug where damage scaling and not back distance were reset on hit. Due to the fixed discrepancies between certain sample combos and actual combo damage has been identified. The issue is scheduled to be corrected in the future. Panda, during heat, down back 1-3 or down back 2-4. Opponent's ability to act after being hit was delayed by 1 frame longer than intended. Lars, he got a lot of stuff. Damage nerf for dynamic entry 19-17. Silent entry damage nerf 23-19. Wall stagger no longer triggered on block for a combo. Opponent's behavior on hit and adjusted frame advantage went from 26-4 on limited entry. Heat timer would not recover when transitioning into DE during heat. 1-1. Fix an issue where heat timer would not recover when transitioning to SE during heat. For all of the entries, fix an issue where remaining time of the heat timer would not recover depending on timing of input and follow-up move. Accidental button presses unintentionally causing DE dynamic entry. Law. Wall stagger no longer triggered on block. Lee. Heat dash can be triggered under whiff under certain situations during Hitman. Leo. Wall stagger no longer triggered on block. Consumption of the remaining heat change from 120 to 140 now during lightning glare. To adjust inconsistency with the heat timer consumption, when returning to the standing position, the heat timer is reduced by 240. Whereas transitioning to other options, it's only consuming 120. So they are going to try to make it all the same with 120. Lydia, wall stance, no longer triggered on block. Lily, wall stance, no longer triggered on block. Nina. Action for specific characters is unintentionally meant for everybody, and that's her slap. That's Nina's slap. Anna's was the same. Anna had the same issue. Paul. Wall stagger no longer triggered on block. Fixed an issue where the amount of recoverable gauge was restored was lower than intended when transitioning into deep dive during heat activation. So that is a buff there. Specific inputs after forcing the opponent to block would result in a guaranteed follow-up attack. So that is not an option now. Reina. If you're near a wall, and basically the moves would often whiff mid-animation. So they adjusted that. And the example that they have is a heat combo. During heat, incorrect damage scaling on airborne, higher than intended combo damage. Shaheen, issue where heat dash could be triggered on whiff under certain situations. Opponent behavior on hit to make them stand up and face forward. Collusion on hit to reduce the instance of the character switching positions near a wall. Salyu. Wall stagger no longer triggered on block. Yoshimitsu. Wall stagger no longer triggered on block. Zafina. Behavior on hit to make them stand up and face forward. Unblockable situations with sidesteps and axe shifting attacks. Collusion on hit to reduce instances of characters side swapping positions near the wall. Hey, what's going on? You know what? I think it's a great start. I think they're doing a good job. You know, and they're blatantly saying in this too that there are specific things that they're keeping an eye on everything, but in addition to that, there are specific things that they are keeping a very good look on to see if it needs further adjusted up or down. So I respect that. I mean, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a great way to move forward. And stuff like this, considering how detailed these games are now, it's not an easy fix. They're micro adjustments. And a lot of these adjustments too, they are blatantly saying, you know, we're changing this a little this way, but we have to keep an eye on this because we may adjust other things that the character is doing in addition to this. We may take this move and make it stronger or less strong. And they don't even have the option just with this version. They also have to worry about simple style, you know? So that's a lot, you know, that's a lot to do. That's a lot to do. And they have to see how everybody's going to do, you know, in Evo Japan. I think the whole wall splat, you know, taking that away on, you know, too many moves, I think that was a good call. I think, you know, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the general breakdown of the emergency patch. I think we're going to be looking to a lot of very, very cool stuff. So, super excited. Can't wait to see how this is going to progress, and yeah, lots of good things to look forward to here. Of course, they did say that there's going to be another patch coming through mid-May, so we're going to be checking that out, and that's going to be after Evo Japan. So yeah, we'll have to see what the deal will be with that, and Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you